Okay. Hi guys, we're back. We just did our spin and our P1 resuspension. That P1 resuspension was 4 mils of P1, 8 mils of H2O, and we used a serological pipette and a little vacuum bulb. So now we're going to add our P2, which is the same as in a mini prep. So I'm going to get my serological pipette and flame it off. And just grab 12. Yep, close pretty tightly. So these serological pipettes are labeled in two different ways. They're counting up on this side, and they're counting, I guess, down on this side. So if you want to measure a certain volume, like, it's pretty easy just to go up to 12 on here, and then you can just not really pay attention to what you're doing on the out. Or you can measure up to a certain area here, and then count how far you're going to go down. So whatever works for you. So we want 12, so we're just going to go up to 12. Stop right there. Cap our P2, and we're going to eject into our resuspension by pressing that little button. So when I'm ejecting, the fluid's going to go all the way down, and then we're going to have a little bit left over, and I get rid of that by pressing this center thing, and that kind of ejects all the rest. And then I can get rid of this little serological pipette, cap my P2, cap this, and then I'm going to do a gentle rock. So we want to be very gentle with this because we don't want to shear our genomic DNA. And it should turn into a snot ball. And this rock is going to take a long time. So normally when you're doing a mini prep, you're going to do a little gentle rock for maybe 10, 30 seconds or something like this. Here you need to rock for a few minutes, and then you just need to let it sit for a little while. Make sure all of the buffers react with one another. So one thing I do is I'll rock it back and forth like this, but then I'll also kind of spin it a little bit. And there's these little membrane type deals that kind of get stuck on the side, and that just serves to mix everything up a little bit better. So back, forth, and it's really gross. It clears up, but it's very snotty, and the foam bubbles get stuck in it, and you just try to be as thorough as possible. So we'll just do this for a little while. And then the next step after this is going to be the P3. So just to review, we had 200 mils of cells that we spun down, and we spun them down for 5 minutes at 6,500 RPM. And then we added 4 mils of P1. Then we added 8 mils of H2O, and we made sure that we resuspended our pellet really well. Then we added 12 mils of P2, and we're at this step. We're doing this gentle rock. Definitely do not shake. That will destroy your midi prep. So, give this about another minute or so. Just trying to make sure that everything is mixed up. Sometimes what happens is you'll get little pockets of just P1 with cells, and if that pocket does not reach the P2, then you're not going to be able to lyse that, which means that you're losing out on DNA, which is bad, so you're taking a yield hit there. But there's also kind of a second bad part about that. It's that it's going to gunk up the rest of it's going to gunk up your column. So if you don't have stuff that is in the right state, it's not, your column's not expecting to see that, and it won't behave as you're hoping. So there's kind of two ways you take an efficiency hit when you don't lyse all of your cells. It's very important to lyse all of your cells. So I think this is pretty much good to go. So we're going to add our P3, our neutralizing buffer. So I'm just going to do that. Let's get a close-up on that. Does that focus? It's kind of jellyish and gunkish. It's really gross. It really should look like this. You don't want to see any cloudiness or very, very little cloudiness. It shouldn't look like a culture at all. It should be clear but snotty. Okay, so we're going to put this aside, and we are going to add our 14 mils of P3. Going to get our little vacuum bulb, eject. put it in to our serological pipette. Sterilize. Now for this step, you want to remember to use buffer P3, not N3. P3 is different from N3. P3 is for midi preps. N3 is for mini preps. So I'm going to bring my sample around here, unscrew it, and I'm going to bring up 14 mils, so I'm going to go up to there. So I can overshoot, so I went up to 16 by mistake, so I'll just press E until 14, and then if I overshoot again, so now I'm at 13, I can just suck up a little bit more, so it's no biggie if you make mistakes on this one. And then it's all going to go, whoops, wrong button, it's all going to go into the talking tube. And I have that little residual drop left over, so I'm going to press this button up here, and that gets rid of everything. Cap that P3, cap our falcon tube. And then you want to start off with that same gentle rock one more time, and you're going to see that we're going to get kind of a white stuff starting to form. And when we have a whole bunch of white stuff, we can start to shake it a little bit more vigorously. So we're going to be seeing, it's almost like kind of like an egg drop soup, and then we want to just totally destroy all those little egg drops. So this is going to take a little while. Is it focused that close? No? How about now? So that's kind of what it looks like. So we're getting close to the point where we can shake it vigorously. But you can see that the solution down here has cleared, and it's no longer as snotty as it used to be. And now we have a very, very kind of thick precipitate right there. So I'm going to start to go a little bit more vigorous with it. And now we're at the point, I would say, that I can start to shake it. But I'm not going to shake it full force yet. I'm just going to give it a couple, buzzes like that. Give it a second to kind of even out. Maybe give it a couple more. And now I'm going to shake it as hard as I can. We can see here that it's pretty well broken up. So all of the buffers are touching one another. We shouldn't have any pockets of weirdness in here. So now I'm just going to buzz it as hard as I can. And now it's pretty well homogenized. So you can see every time that I shook it, those white chunks got smaller and smaller and smaller, and that's going to allow us to get a really good pellet when we actually spin this down. A couple more spins, or shakes. And we're probably good to go. So I'm going to label this real quick with my lab pen. So we'll just call this 1600 midi. And let's spin it down. So we're going to be able to use the same rotor. And this time we need to use the little yellow thing to have it fit. So I'm going to pop in my sample. I'm going to weigh my sample. My sample comes out to 197.4. Take that off, get my balance. My balance in here. Balance comes out to 187.0. So it needs about 10 mils. So I'm shooting for 197.4, 18, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, hopefully. $197.4. Cool. And now we're going to spin at full speed for 10 minutes in order to pellet that gunk. This is kind of the same step in a mini prep as when you're spinning down after the addition of N3. So we're just getting rid of all the gunk and all the crap that got crashed out by P3. So same deal. I'm going to close the door. Then I'm going to change RPM. I'm just going to click that and hold the up arrow for as long as I can. 10,000. I'm going to go to time, 10 minutes. Enter, start, and hang out here for a couple seconds with my hands on the centrifuge, making sure that I didn't unbalance anything. and I'll feel it if I didn't. So in the meantime, quick review. We started off with 200 mils of cells. We pelleted it on this at 6,500 RPM, 5 minutes. Ditched the supernatant, resuspended it in 4 mils of P1 plus 8 mils of H2O. Then, after the resuspension, we added a little bit of P2, 12 mils, in order to bust open the cells. We gently rocked that until we got kind of a mucousy, yellowish type of material inside of our falcon tube. And then we neutralized with 14 mils of P3. After we neutralized with a good shake after a couple of rocks, we're spinning it down now. So I'm confident that this is good to go. As you put that for the spin down, we're going to be adding some QBT into our column. So we need to prep this column. This column's not good to go right off the out of the box. So we're going to be putting in 4 mils of QBT. So I'm going to open this guy up, and I need to put it in something. Let's see, I didn't think ahead here. So I'm just going to grab another falcon tube. And there should actually be a little holder for this. So there's this little, I don't know what shape that is, but this thing fits inside of there, and then that fits inside of there, and it'll hold it up, and then I can put that whole assembly right there. And this is a really good time to start this PBT because it takes a little while. So I'm going to set my P1000 to 1000 and just put in 4 servings of QBT. And I'm just squirting that right into the center. And we're just going to let that drip by gravity. That'll take a few minutes. Once that drips through, this column will be ready to accept our supernatant from the spin down. And we'll cut it there. We'll be back after about 10 minutes.